Hi, my name is Sebastian and I will be talking to you about my SDG. My SDG is called ADE, or African Disease Extermination, and its vision is to significantly reduce mortality rates in Africa and better the living conditions for people there, and bring better medicines and help people's mental health. Our mission is to take volunteers to Africa in order for them to provide the necessary shipments of medicines and give the locals there vaccines or whatever they need to help prevent any diseases, and give them information about them so that they can be more aware of where to, like what things to stop doing, or what good habits to take in to try and avoid the easily avoidable diseases that are plaguing Africa right now. We will also provide food for people who come to us in search for health benefits. And this has two things that it'll do. First of all, it'll stop malnutrition, and people in Africa will be able to live fuller lives by not being as hungry. And secondly, it could significantly reduce the amount of neonatal deaths that there are, because one of the most common factors for a neonatal death, which is a death of a child from 5 years and under, is malnutrition. Usually these kids aren't fed well enough because their parents can barely feed themselves. Now, I know we all know that Africa is in the best conditions, but at least it's a lot worse than what I initially thought, because at least 400 people in Africa don't have basic health care. Then 40% of people in Africa lack social protection. So they don't have any social protection whatsoever. And 15 million people in Africa are still waiting for their HIV treatment, which doesn't sound like that much, but if you see the statistics that 21.7 people living with HIV are being treated, then you can see how the percentage of people who have it and aren't treating it, and the percentage of people who have it and are treating it is not very balanced, and you can see how there's still a ton of people who need help. In Africa, every 2 seconds, someone from the ages of 30 to 70 dies prematurely from non-communicable diseases such as cardiovascular disease, chronic respiratory disease, or something like that. And obviously, for someone to die every 2 seconds in Africa, the conditions have to be pretty critical. 7 million people in Africa often die from polluted air. And not just that, but climate change actually affects the way people in Africa live their day-to-day lives, because climate change can affect the diseases that are already there and make the fatalities for those diseases a lot higher than they were previously, before climate change. These are just some examples of what the people in Africa are living right now, and which means that we have to do everything we need to help, and we have to make sure that we take the right action here, because we really need this. It's actually a health crisis. They're going through a health crisis right now, and we need that health crisis to stop. And because of this and many other reasons we've already talked about, people in Africa are in dire need of help from the rest of the world and from Africa itself. So by looking at these figures, we can see that people in Africa really are living in a pretty severe health crisis, and they need all the help they can get, and we have to make sure that they get that help, and that's what organization is for. It's to make sure that they can live fuller lives and live for a lot longer than they would have if our organization didn't exist. And that's the purpose of it, and that's our goal with it, and that's it.